Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SharkMeet! We have a record crowd tonight. I'm so excited to see everybody here. Some old friends, some new friends. And what I'd like to do first, before making an introduction to our guest of honor, is to thank a couple of people who've been just instrumental in pulling this off tonight. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Troy Miller from Columbus City Council. Where are you, Troy? Right here. Stand up, please. I'd also like to thank these two fine young people from ECDI, Douglas Craven and Ina Kinney. Thank you. Please stand up. I always mispronouncing his name, so I appreciate your patience, Ina. Thank you. Just a few more thank yous before we get going here. Of course, we couldn't have done this without our amazing caterers, Mad Greek and the Refectory. And we're here today in a beautiful botanical garden, courtesy of Franklin Park Conservatory. Thank you to Franklin Park Conservatory. And then we've got the Columbus Chamber of Commerce, who is a sponsor, as well as Park Bench Digital, Fahrenheit IT Staffing and Consulting, and Car2Go. Thank you to our sponsors. And then last but not least, thank you to the Columbus Chamber of Commerce for helping with this event as a sponsor as well. Thank you. So our guest of honor tonight is going to be talking a little bit about what makes a pitch successful. And I find this topic to be fascinating because it, especially in the entrepreneurial space, your pitch is everything. A solid pitch will get you to that next round of funding, that next strategic partner, that next important customer. And this is a man who knows about that probably more than anybody and everybody in this room put together. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kevin O'Leary.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. I tell you how I'd like to spend the next 15 minutes. I want to talk a little bit about the entrepreneurial experience. And first of all, thank you for bringing me out here. I love to talk about entrepreneurialism and creating jobs in America because, frankly, when you really get down to it, 97% of jobs created in this country come from small business. Small business is created by entrepreneurs. It is the essence of growth, and we're so proud of what's happened with Shark Tank. We never thought this show would succeed. We thought people would be bored with business. But perhaps what happened through the economic crisis we've all endured is that people realize that the only certainty in life as far as being a businessman is running your own business and not working for somebody else. Even a 9-year-old girl understands that. And that's what's remarkable about Shark Tank. It's the #1 family show in America on Fridays. Our fastest growing demographic is 9 to 18-year-old women. Yeah. So it must be that women mature faster than guys. That's got to be the case. So I want to tell you about the making of the show so that you understand and how it's going to be relevant to those entrepreneurs we see today that pitch. The actual pitches can be up to 2 hours long, and they're cut down to 8 minutes. So the editors have to do a masterful job in capturing the essence of what happens during that hour or 2 hours. We tape from 5 in the morning till 8 at night, 22 days in a row. So when you see us fighting, that's real. The show itself, when you really think about what it's become, it's a platform to launch businesses and services. If they're already in distribution, you can measure the results of being on Shark Tank. And I'll give you an example. One test that just happened serendipitously, just by luck, is we took a commodity that you can find in every city in America, in this town, any town, and we put it on Shark Tank. There's nothing proprietary about it. I'll describe the deal to you, and I'll give you the numbers, and you'll understand the power of what Shark Tank has become and why it's so valuable to entrepreneurs. So, some of you may remember a deal called Wicked Good Cupcakes. Cupcakes are water, sugar, flour, butter. There is nothing proprietary. There's no intellectual property to it. It's just a cupcake. And there's two ladies, a mother and a daughter, Terry Noonan and her daughter, that came on the show and needed $75,000 for a commercial kitchen because they wanted to expand their business. And it was around the time when Shark Tank was starting to take off, and the other sharks weren't really that interested in a cupcake company. I decided to do it as a test. I lent them the $75,000 they needed with the assumption that maybe, and their base sales were $15,000 a month. That was it. Now get this. It airs at 9 o'clock on a Friday night. These are the guys that FedEx you cupcakes in mason jars for $7.95, the most expensive cupcake in America. $15,000 until the Friday night they aired, and in the next 36 hours, they sold $365,000 of cupcakes. They're running at a run rate of $4 million a year. They're going to make about $800,000 of free cash. Danny, who's 26, the daughter, is a millionaire. She has basically $800,000 in the bank. She's 26 years old. She just got married. I helped her with her prenup. But that's the essence of what Shark Tank has become. It's a launch platform. We're very proud of that, and we nurture these businesses. We keep them on the air. I'm going to talk to you now about some relevancy that I think applies to everybody, regardless of whether you ever come on Shark Tank or not. Whether you work in a company, whether you run a company, whether you're an entrepreneur that wants to have a company. These are facts that I found over years of taping Shark Tank. I'm going to share with you the 3 things that every single deal that got financed had. Doesn't mean the companies were successful, because in venture investing, 8 out of 10 fail. It's the 2 that win that get back all your money for the mistakes you made. But in every case where an investor wrote a check, these 3 attributes existed. And I know this with certainty because the Shark Tank format is owned by Sony Television, and it's on in many, many countries. And a PhD student decided to do a study by looking at the tapes of Shark Tank. He's still ongoing with this, but I had a chance to talk to him when he was looking at the Canadian and British show, and now he's looking at the tapes. And these are unedited tapes. This is the core presentation. Okay, so number 1. In every case, the entrepreneur was able to pitch the idea in 90 seconds or less. In other words, they were able to communicate the opportunity in a minute and a half. They made it simple enough for the investor to understand what the opportunity was. And I find this attribute very important for anybody selling anybody anything. You've got to keep it simple. So when you start to think back on those that made it on Shark Tank, you're going to find that. You maybe didn't notice it when you're watching it, but the successful ones are able to say, here's my idea. Bang. Some of them do it in less than 60 seconds. And you can see all the sharks just, they get it. The light turns on. Number 1. Number 2, they were able to articulate how they were the right person or team to execute the business plan. That maybe they'd never run a business, but they were able to convince the investors. This takes longer. This takes anywhere from 5 minutes to half an hour because they're going to be pounded with questions. But there's a moment in a presentation, having seen it thousands of times, when all of a sudden an entrepreneur has, and you have to be in the room to see it, to feel it, when all of a sudden they start to radiate confidence, when they've gone halfway through their pitch and they're articulating why you should give them $500,000, that all of a sudden you can see that isotope sizzling, that they're the right person. Somehow it's that they're the entrepreneur that can deliver on executing. It's a magical moment. It happens not often, but when it happens, you can feel it. And that's their ability to communicate that they're the right person to execute that business plan. And more often than not, it's a team. It's more than one person. And lastly, in 100 of the cases, 100%, they knew their numbers. Nothing kills a deal, particularly when it's coming to the crescendo and somebody asks you what your gross margins are, or the size of the market, or the break-even unit volume, or something that you should know and you don't. It's death. It's total death. The air gets sucked out of the room. Because an investor has to know you understand the language of business. That's numbers. You have to be able to answer those questions, and they should be forefront in your mind. And if you don't know the answer, you better bring somebody that does. Because as long as the answer is communicated, even if it's from a partner, that's all that matters. So in 100% of the time, every successful deal, in other words, getting financed, those three things, 90 seconds or less on the initial concept, explain why you're the right person to execute the business plan, and know your numbers. And when you think about that, that's basically in everything in life. When you get up in the morning and you're trying to convince your wife that you want to do something, you better communicate successfully in a short burst of information. Explain why you're doing it, and know why it's good for the family. I've actually been teaching courses on marriage lately. I'm not kidding. And it turns out that marriage is a business. It's the same thing. I wanted to share that with you before we got into what's going to be, I think, a great day today. This should be very, very much fun. I want to also just touch on a few points. I'm going to use a PowerPoint because I've only got a couple more minutes here before I introduce our sharks. But I'd like to tell you about, after having invested in hundreds of businesses, some things I've learned. I've lost money on dozens of them. I've made millions on others, but there are some constants that are true. It turns out in business, employees are actually the most important asset of a company. The culture you create in a business is built by the belief that every one of your employees understands you have a direction, you know where you're going, even when you don't. You have to elude the ability to lead. And unfortunately in business, and this happens quite often with small family businesses, when somebody goes off track and doesn't believe in the mission anymore, you have to do the hard thing. You have to fire them. They have to be taken out of the organization. Most people don't have the guts to do it. I say this very often. It means sometimes you have to fire your mother. It sounds tough. But what matters is the success of the company. That may sound hard and harsh, but everybody has to be on board. The customer always comes first. That's crucial. That's obvious. Always. That matters. Service trumps price. Listen to this. One of the investment theses in my private equity company is this. I find companies that have terrible service to their customers, and I buy them, and then the only investment I make is enhancing customer service, and I raise prices 15%. Think about it yourself. This actually works. You are loath to give up a service that works for you. You are loath to stop buying a product that works. You'll do anything to stay on a product or service that solves problems. So it turns out that customer service is the best investment in any business. I've even raised prices 30% and not lost customers after fixing customer support. Think about that. It really matters. The person in a company who should make the most money is not the boss. It's the head of sales. The man or woman that runs sales should make more money than anybody else. The hardest job in a company is the salesperson. They know more about the business than anybody else. They're out in the trenches every day. They should be awarded with the most money. If they don't own equity, that's okay. If you really value them, you should give them some. Sales is everything. Without sales, there is no business. That's what matters. I get into a lot of trouble talking at large corporations about this, but the salesperson is number one. And lastly, and remember this, everybody's replaceable. If you're not helping an organization move forward, you're gone. And I'm going to leave you, before I introduce our sharks, with one concept that I find many people have a hard time with. There was a time in America in the 60s when we were the most incredible economy on earth, growing faster than anybody else. It's not the case today. There's lots of global competition. But along the way, we started to worry about things that have nothing to do with business. I want to remind everybody that business is war. There's winners and there's losers. The DNA of a business is not to solve society's problems. It's to make money for its shareholders, support its customers, and make money above all. The taxes we pay take care of all the rest of our problems, and we pay plenty of them. But if you're running a business, never think that your job isn't to reward your shareholders, because if they don't support you, you don't have a business. And I have lots of debates in business schools these days about this, and I love to create that controversy. But if you treat your competitors as enemies, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean in a way it's competitive like a football game. You want to win. You do things to win. You win market share, you make money, you grow your business, you create jobs, you pay taxes, you support our fantastic economy. That's what matters. You don't spend your day worrying about your social responsibilities because you don't have any as a business. What you have is a responsibility to make money so you can pay tax so that we can support all the things that we love in America. I want to remind everybody of that. It's a little right wing of Attila the Hun, I know that, but I think it's okay to say that once in a while, just to remind ourselves what made us great in the first place. All right, let's get on with our day. I want to introduce our sharks. This is going to be interesting because these entrepreneurs don't have 2 hours. They've got 9 minutes. So I hope they listen to what I said about getting it out in 90 seconds, number one. And number two, to make sure that they can articulate the business plan. And lastly, of course, I will eviscerate anybody that doesn't know their numbers. I'll do that personally. All right, let's talk about our sharks. Rich Langdale from NCT Ventures, come on down. Where are you? I had a chance to talk to him, talk to Rich for a couple of minutes. He sounds like a tough guy. We should have some fun together. All right.
I'm going to be the nice guy.
Luke Westerman, come on down. He's from Solomon Global Holdings. And Tanisha Robinson, please, come on down. All right.
I think Kevin wants to say.
Okay, I think we're going to start with M. Christian Armstrong. He's got software that's changing long-term healthcare outcomes. Where is he? Pitch.
I'm Dr. Christian Armstrong, and for the past several years, I've been working in long-term and post-acute care. For those of you who don't know, long-term and post-acute care is made up of nursing homes, skilled nursing facilities, and home health agencies that all treat patients from the time they leave a hospital until they return back home. It's while I was working in this environment that I came across huge inefficiencies and poor poor communications that directly resulted in wasted physicians' time, decreased facility profits, and most importantly, poor patient outcomes, the latter of which I unfortunately experienced firsthand with the passing of my mother while in one of these facilities. It's, for these reasons and many more is why I formed MedPAC Technologies. At MedPAC, we provide electronic health record solutions that solve these problems. They solve the patient outcomes. We help improve patient outcomes. We have rounding applications that help increase physicians' workflow and make them more productive during their day. And we have business management tools that help increase facility profitability. And we do all of this from a single unified backend API so that we can share data across all 3 spectrums. Additionally, we've actually identified multiple income streams. So we're not just a business about healthcare, we're also a business about business, right? So for instance, for our providers, we have an income stream for shared revenue, or not shared revenue, we have a subscription-based revenue stream, but they can also pay per item or per transaction. But then to really promote use across the entire system, we give the facility solution, which is the hub of the entire post-acute care, we give them their solution for free, so that internally we can start amassing that data for a big data play long-term down the road. And then most importantly, to kind of allude to what you talked about earlier, we have a huge team behind us. We've got a very strong team. I've got active members on our board that are out helping with business development. I've got active members on our board that are experts in medical marketing and pharmaceutical marketing. And we've got incubator support behind us as well in the form of Endeavor Forward and Tech Columbus that are both behind us working with us. And so right now before you guys, I'm looking for about $200,000 for 10% equity, which we'll use to further product development and get us further into the market, as well as going after customer sales and marketing teams and strategies so that we can become a cash flow positive company, hopefully by September of next year. So with that, I thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right. Well, I'll kick it off. You are in a very competitive space. You are not the only guy doing this. There are hundreds of other companies. What makes you different?
The difference that we have is our approach. So we're giving the facility, which is the hub of the entire long-term care, we're giving them their solution for free. And by doing that, we're able to displace some of our larger competitors and make money off of some of the ad revenue that we supply to them. But then we look at the providers, which are physicians, nurse practitioners, physical therapy and occupational therapists, hospice nurses, that all go in and out of these facilities. And we're monetizing those folks because they're paying for the added benefit of the software that the nursing home, through the normal course of their workflow, completes information for them on. So for instance, a new patient coming in, which is one of the large pain points of these providers, all of that onboarding, all that patient data entry, the information gathering, we're tasking that with the facility, and that's part of the solution in that network that works together.
Can you help us break down a little bit better who exactly is paying you, how much you're making per customer, and then what your cost of getting that customer is? What all goes into time and money in getting that customer?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So our primary monetization point are the providers. So the providers, again, being the physicians, nurse practitioners, the doctors and nurses that treat patients at that level. For those on a full-time basis, they would pay about $1,000 per month as a subscription rate. The facility...
Per person? $1,000 a month?
Per provider, yes.
Per provider?
Yes.
I'm having problems with it. I don't know about you guys.
So the provider's getting basically leads, connections to their services?
If I'm a nurse, am I writing a check to you?
No, sir. The doctor is using the electronic medical record system that we provide. They are writing a check to us.
And I do that because it's efficient for me to do that. I save money doing that.
It's efficient, but it's also a mandate that these medical records have to be electronic.
Okay.
So that's where we're going in the next year or so as the rest of the federal mandates come down the line. So
do you have any installations working right now?
No, we are pre-revenue. Our physician product launches next week. And we just got back from a trade show on Saturday where we were very well received. We have 5% of the show of nurse practitioners that are actively calling us that want to use our product. So, and that was our first trade show ever. So, I'm sorry, did I answer your original question?
Well, there were two parts to it. I threw a lot at you, sorry.
No worries.
But how are you getting paid, and then have you started to break that down? Being pre-revenue, you probably haven't, but at least give us some estimates, assumptions. How much does it cost for you to get one of those customers that's paying you $1,000?
Absolutely.
And then how do you see that as kind of time and money and the scalability of that business model?
Sure. Right now, based off the numbers that we're running, our cost of customer acquisition is right around $2,300 per customer. On the provider side, about $2,200 on the facility side. Out of that, our time to recoup that cost is about a month and a half, or about 2.5 months, I'm sorry, at $1,000 a month. If it's a part-time provider, that will take a little bit longer, so they only go to these facilities on a shorter basis. We only charge them $3 an encounter, so that's going to take a little bit longer to recoup that initial cost of acquisition. However, as we continue to scale up and get into the facilities then handle our marketing and sales and marketing for us, because the facility product drives the use of the provider product, which is why we're giving the facilities their product for free. It also becomes a gathering point for the big data that's coming down the road.
How is your pricing relative to your competitors? Just so we can have some perspective.
Sure. It varies. For our provider product, we're really right in that ballpark. Some of the physicians that I've talked to would be willing to pay up to $1,500 a month for what we're providing for about $1,000. It's a little bit less for our nurse practitioners because their reimbursables aren't as high as the physicians are. So we charge them, or we give them a little bit of a discount. But on average, if we can have that provider see one new patient per day through their normal course of workflow, they double their money back. So that would translate to about $2,000 a month, and we're charging about $1,000 a month.
Only 2 minutes left. I have a quick question. When you give it to a facility,
yes,
how many potential customers are attached to that facility that you can go try and sell afterwards, on average?
On average, the facility, just looking at the provider, have between 3 and 5 providers associated directly with the facility, but that's on the physician side. You also have outside patient physical therapy and occupational therapy people coming in. That varies based on the...
But if the facility approves your platform, wouldn't they have to buy into yours? Don't you have these captured as customers?
I'm not sure. I don't really understand the question.
If you're giving it to the facility,
yes,
it's free.
Yes.
Wouldn't everybody associated with servicing it have to use your software?
Right, but the facility, all of their users are internal. They're on a separate platform. They're on our platform, but they're being monetized off of ad revenue that's pertinent to their particular needs.
Got it. Okay. And that's the other stream you talked about.
Yes.
All right. Listen, we're out of time.
Okay.
It's short and sweet.
It is. All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. What do you guys think of that one? I was confused.
Well, you kind of set it up if you can't explain it in 90 seconds. So listening to the whole thing. Interesting space, big space, but you see a lot of the same thing there, and you really want to see a little more traction, I think. So, so you're with the right people here locally to get that early stage traction, and you're probably going to need to see some real revenue and prove out those numbers before someone like Kevin opens his checkbook.
I'd say give it away to a bunch of facilities and providers and let them try it and use that as a test site. That would be great.
Traction first.
Traction first, because it sounds like the idea has merit. I don't know about the advertising revenue. I think there's some regulations around what you can advertise and when you can advertise it. But there's no question it's in the right space, though. Mm-hmm. It's on trend. Healthcare spending is crazy good right now, so that's not bad. All right.
Yeah, I also think getting a real handle on the cost per acquisition of customers is going to really be a big driver to understand the true ROI and how long it takes to turn that revenue into profit. So I think that will give you a really good handle on your burn rate. And
as that data gets collected, once it amasses, how can it be monetized beyond what we just talked about?
Exactly.
I think there's definitely ways to monetize that data as it gets collected at some point.
Yep.
All right, let's go to our second entrepreneur, Daniel Towns. He has a product that revolutionizes automobile travel. Huge space, tough market. Where is he?
Easy to understand. What I've designed and developed is a tire that won't go flat. It won't go flat. It won't experience a blowout. You can run over nails, screws, shrapnel glass, whatever you may experience throughout the daytime or the night, and it won't go flat. So I would imagine at least 90% of the audience has had a flat tire once before in their lifetime. True? Okay. With that being said, this tire is biodegradable, which means we can recycle it because we're all trying to go green. You don't have to worry about landfills, tires piling up, so we're all trying to go green. That's our focus. Focus number 2, 6-inch screwdriver. I'm going to demonstrate mine. This isn't a nail, this is a screwdriver. In the tire. Once inside of the tire, now if you run over a 6-inch screwdriver in downtown Columbus because we're full of potholes in our city, your tire is either gonna go flat or it's gonna blow out. With this, you can keep driving until you get home. Once you get home, take it, pull it out, and you can keep going. No more flats, no more blowouts, no more accidents. So not only are we cutting down on damages to your car, we're cutting down on accidents. Now you may say, well, how did this guy get into tires? It's a passion for me. The reason why it's a passion for me, the reason why I eat, drink, and sleep this is because on 270, as a youth, my grandparents were involved in an accident that was caused by a blowout. I lost my grandfather, and it paralyzed my grandmother from the neck down. So that's why I'm passionate about this. This isn't just a quick way to make a lot of money. This is, I eat, drink, and sleep tires. Because to this day, if this product had been on the market, I may still have my grandfather. So I'm determined to get into this. This is my passion. Now, numbers, you like numbers. Your average tire will cost you anywhere from $180 to possibly close to $200. These tires, we can price point them at, so they're more reasonable, at a good price of about, so everybody out here can afford them, maybe $80 or $90. Because to make them, because of the materials that they're made out of, we can get them made overseas at about $15 per unit. I'll say that again, $15 per unit. Now, once we get them over here, we can play with our numbers. We can price point them, you know, so they're not too high for every average, say, person to use. And they can fit on any car, van, truck, bus, SUV, whatever you're driving, we can put them on there. Yeah. Whatever you're driving, we can put them on there. So
what's your plan for distribution? How are you going to get this out?
The plan for, that's what we need the funding for, so we can advertise more for marketing.
Can you tell us what you want?
We would like $400,000 for 10%. That's negotiable.
That's good right there.
So do you have anybody today that says, I will buy this?
I actually had a meeting with Jonathan Nimrod, the head distributor of Walmart. He told me if you can get us just a set to put on one of our trucks, not only will we put them on our shelves in a Walmart, but we'll put them on our Walmart trucks. I had a meeting with ODOT, right here, Ohio Department of Transportation. They told me the same thing. If you can just get us a set, so we can just test them on one of our cars or one of our trucks for a day or two to see how they run, we would love to have them. And then their next question was, can you cover Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Dayton, and Toledo? Of course, I said, of course. So the market is there. The market is there, and these aren't run flats. A run flat will get you from here maybe a little bit further down Broad Street, and your tire's gonna be flat. You're gonna have to change that tire. These do not go flat.
Do you want to tell us about the technology you're using?
Is that a pneumatic tire?
It's not a pneumatic. A pneumatic tire will go flat.
Right, exactly. So it's non-pneumatic then?
It's not pneumatic. What it is, it's a new technology. Well, it's not new. It's a technology that's been out, but they haven't been revolutionizing it on tires. It's called glass bubbles. It's a new form of rubber. A lot of people haven't been using it in tires. I kind of just snatched it up and said, well, you know what? If you can use it in this, this, and this, why not use it in tires? So now you don't have to worry about your tires going flat because you have this new technology.
So no one uses this now. Doesn't the military or some of these groups use something similar?
No. The only thing the military is using now that actually President Barack Obama is using now, it's actually a little device that fits onto the rim, which will just get him away. So if they shoot his tires out, they'll get him away to safety where he needs to be at. If he had these, they could shoot him up and everything else. Anything outside of a ground-to-air missile is not going to destroy this tire.
Polaris and Michelin both actually have non-pneumatic tires that they claim can take a 50 cal bullet. So how do you, and they are doing work with the military. So what is the difference between what they're doing? So they have kind of this webbing structure around the tires versus...
It's actually just a web, and it's more of a rim than it is a tire. The rim is expanded maybe to 18 to 20 inches wider, and it's only a small portion of rubber, and it's webbed, so there's no air in it. Right. That's all they have.
Right, but
they've had that for about 4 or 5 years now, and they still haven't brought it to the market, and it's like $1,500 per tire. Who's going to pay $1,500 a tire? Nobody.
Exactly.
So I'm intrigued. Do you have a patent on this? Is it your proprietary idea?
I'm patent pending.
So nobody else can do this on a tire? None of the large tire companies?
No. All the large tire companies are trying to do, in all actuality, they don't want tires to not go flat because that would put a dent in their wallet.
I don't know about that.
That was my next question, like how you resell
I mean,
stuff.
think about it. You know, think about it. The cigarette companies are advertising don't smoke, but they're not stop selling cigarettes.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with the tire companies. Goodyear, Michelin, Cooper, Yokohama, Toyo.
Have you talked to any of those companies about licensing your idea to them?
No, I haven't.
Why not?
I kind of don't want to. I wouldn't mind doing that. If I had you on my team and we went together and we talked to them and we licensed it out, I would love to license it out. Because then all I would have to do is you and I could just sit back and collect checks.
Yes.
My man, my man.
That's how it works. But you haven't, because obviously, why set up a whole distribution system and go through the headaches of building tire plants when if this really is proprietary, you could just give it to one of them and get paid?
Well, if I was teamed up with Mr. Wonderful, it would be a wonderful
Well, I am
life.
intrigued, I must say.
Yes.
I am intrigued. All right, one and a half minutes left. Questions?
What's the quality of the drive like with this? Is it extra bumpy?
It's actually
Is it smooth?
It's actually even better because the way glass bubbles work, they give you a smoother ride because it's lighter. It's a lighter rubber, so you'd actually get better gas mileage. So not only are you getting a better ride, but you're saving gas because you're pulling less weight.
How did you find this technology, and how did you take the existing technology and repurpose it in such a fashion when other people have not?
Basically, just through a lot of research, trial and error, you know, high temperatures, low temperatures, how good it will work in high extreme heat, you know, low cold, because it's always cold in Ohio. So just trial and error. And I worked with a team of engineers, you know, so I had some engineers who just happened to be family members, so I didn't have to pay them. So.
That tire has a brand on it. I can see it.
Well, that was actually my tire from one of my automobiles, and I had them transform that into my product.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? 400,000 for 10%.
Yes, sir. But that's negotiable.
Yeah. I would do something with you with a 100% contingency that it gets licensed, because to me it has no value unless it has distribution. And luckily, they'll return my calls. So we're going to talk.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready? Todd Whittington is next. He has a new technology solving a common healthcare problem. Back in the healthcare space again, a fantastic sector right now. Todd, come on down. Let's go.
Could I grab your extra mic there?
Absolutely.
So I want to do some feedback.
Okay.
So this is Lise.
Hi, I'm Lise, and I am the creator of NeuroArts.
And I'm Todd. I'm the business guy.
And we have a question for the Sharks. First of all, I work in rehabilitation. I'm so sorry about your grandmother. I'm so sorry about your grandfather. I want to ask, do you know anyone who has got balance issues because maybe they have had a stroke, another neural injury, maybe they've had chemotherapy and they've lost the nerve sensation on the bottom of their feet, or maybe they're just elderly and they're afraid of falling. Do you know anyone like that? If you do, you know our end user.
So our end user is a huge market. It represents the neurorehabilitation of both age-related ailments and for traumatic brain injuries. Last year alone, over 2 million people were admitted to the ER and required physical therapy for balance-related issues. So, and this market's only growing. The percentage of people that are going to be over 60 is going to quadruple in the next 10 years.
So what's the problem with the way we currently perform physical therapy? Has anyone had physical therapy? It's boring. It's boring, it's grueling, it's slow. So our solution is to create technology that makes it more engaging. And best of all, it's clinically proven in my research to actually be about twice as effective as standard physical therapy.
So how do we do this is through an application that creates a feedback mechanism that observes the motions of the patient and creates digital art.
It's sensor agnostic, so it uses a Kinect. I don't know if anybody uses a Kinect, or it uses just a fly mouse that you would use for gaming. As the physical therapist, the skilled therapist, gives the motions that need to be performed, but the movement's detected, and the patient is able to see their artwork created on screen. This is a feel-good application. And I know that social good isn't the end-all and the be-all, but it doesn't hurt. So if you look at the information that we've given to the judges, we've included some sample comments from therapists, from patients. Everybody who has used this application, who has access to this application, wants it. They want to buy it. So that's where we get to how we make money.
So we make money. The business model is we will be marketing to the facilities that employ physical therapists and occupational therapists. So not only hospitals and clinics employ physical therapists, but school systems and nursing homes. All told, there's 50,000 facilities in the United States that employ physical therapists. So we've got a very simple model. We package it in a monthly fee of $14.95 a month per licensed therapist. We have a phase 2 marketing, which will go after the much larger in-home healthcare market, which is projected to be about 2 million employees in the next 10 years.
So in closing, we think that we've got a product that really gets at customer delight. We also think that we're in an area where the puck is going and that we're positioned to deliver the best, most well-researched solutions in that area. Thank you so much.
So what's the sales strategy?
So the sales strategy is for the first 18 months is to go after the physical therapy, and we're going to do a sales funnel that goes through trade show marketing. Physical therapists, occupational therapists are bonkers for trade shows. There's 4 main trade shows in the United States, and they get an attendance of over 50,000. So we're going to create lead lists from the trade shows, and then through outbound telemarketing, email, and inbound internet, we're going to create 2 stages. One, a hot lead goes to the acceptance for a webinar, and then to a sale. So our total cost for that is estimated to be about $253 per facility, not per licensed therapist.
Have you considered any sort of channel sales option?
Yeah, so we've looked into possibly when we move into in-home health care, there's, we could partner with somebody, and we've looked at pricing around $7.95 wholesale, and they can mark it up as much as they want.
What are you actually buying from you? Is there any machinery? What's the cost of it?
Software.
It's just an app.
It's an app, it's software, but it has a back end that provides data analytics.
And the app is on a phone or a computer or a laptop? What's it on?
It can be on anything.
Yeah.
Probably right now iPad, but connected to a larger screen so they can see the visual effect is the best way to go.
So you don't really print the art. You just get to keep it in a file, look at it. You're creating
We
it.
do print the art. I have examples.
But it makes, from what I understand, is I would do that through my therapy because I'm enjoying creating the art as opposed to just going through the boring, routine, repetitive. I understand. Yeah, that's interesting.
So the real advantage in the sale is to the physical therapist. The normal Medicare and insurance recovery for this is classified in our neurorehabilitation, which is about $100 per 15 minutes higher than their typical stretch bands and Bosa balls. So they make back their money within the first session.
Yep.
Have you had feedback from professionals that like it?
Yes, tons. I've actually published 2 studies already, one in a medical journal that reports exactly that.
You guys have some sort of collaboration with OSU, correct?
I'm faculty at OSU, so
Okay.
I would be the researcher.
There we go.
Conflict of interest. I keep doing research. Todd takes the business.
What's the size of the market?
So for the healthcare professional, it's about 50,000 facilities. And there's an average about 4 licenses per facility. That's the median.
Is that protectable in any way, or is it just a race to get it into the facilities?
It's probably a race. Honestly, I will say that I have 2 other prototypes right now. Those are both audio prototypes because interactive arts can be audio as well as visual, that are already in testing. So what I'm seeing is that everyone else who's in the space is trying to go after games, and no one is really realizing the power of something that's more open-ended, an art game where there is no lose. So we can just keep coming out with these. We're vetting them with the patients. We're vetting with the therapists. We know what's going to hit, what's going to go viral.
So it's software as a service today. I know you guys are, correct me if I'm wrong, you're undergoing some other iteration. You're going to be making some sort of change from a development standpoint. Is that correct?
Well, right now the software is being used with patients. We need to develop the wrapper, UX. Okay. We need to do back-end admin. We want to be able so that the therapist can track each of the progress through the different, as you can see here, they start small and they get more kind of detailed. And then the e-commerce engine for it. So
how long will that take before you can get to the market and get to?
We've got quotes between 60 and 90 days for the rest of the development.
And from that point, how long till you're?
So we can start selling at that point. So we're probably 90 days out from selling it. from the start of development, which we need money for.
So I say to people around our office all the time, a lot of them are here, so they'll know this. You can start selling anytime. What has kept you from getting letters of intent, customer commitments? Sure. It sounds like there's interest, and it's kind of a consistent theme tonight, just to say it out loud. If you've got a great product and you have interested people, everybody's saying everybody wants this, we are 10 times more likely to open our checkbook up if you have 100 letters of everybody. So what's kept that from happening? Well,
we've started some of that process because I wanted to validate some of the conversion numbers. So Kimberly, who's on our team, sells into this area. She's a business development expert. So she's got a hot list of 500 facilities around Ohio.
And a physical therapist herself.
Yeah, she's a physical therapist. So we just started calling because I really wanted a time to see how long it would take from the introduction to a close. And our close was not a credit card close, but it was to move to the next phase. And it was about 8 minutes. So, and we had 100% response through our 50 that we called.
And I will say, so I think I have been part of the issue. So because I'm a researcher, commercializing, we have no clue how to do that. So I need advice to do exactly what the advice that you're giving is the advice that I need.
That's exactly what to do. And I knew you would know, Todd. But come back to the reimbursement code, because I was going to ask that question. And are you saying it's actually higher with this?
Yes.
So, and what is the differentiator that allows the doctor to get a higher reimbursement?
It becomes neuro. The minute you use biofeedback, there's a biofeedback code that Medicare does reimburse, and 2, you can move it from orthopedic to a neuro code.
I like it.
Okay, a minute and a half left here.
Has anyone on your team had experience with just recouping once you submit that bill? And just the headache that can manifest from just receiving the cash from these groups?
No, I don't think so. You mean from the facilities themselves?
In marketing? You mean marketing and then actually managing the money?
Talking about once the whoever it is submits for payment.
By
the time you actually see the money with Medicare, it can be a mess. We've experienced that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Absolutely, we have. I can address that, and Kim is the masters of that. Yeah, she actually is a director of business development for a big home health care company, and she does exactly that.
Good, that's great. I like this. I think I want to chat afterwards. Cool. Yeah, let's chat afterwards.
Thank you.
Cool.
All right, thanks, guys. Time up. That is intriguing. It is intriguing, particularly enhancing the billing code. That sounds very good. Mm-hmm. That's all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
No problem. All right, next. Andrea Watros. She has a tool that adds a new twist to gardening. Sounds like a nice, simple, easy to understand product. All right, Andrea, you ready?
Yep, I am.
Okay, we're just setting up the clock. You need every second you get. Go.
Okay. All right. There are 85 million people now that get out and garden. Of that, there's 72% of all U.S. households are out working in their yard. But the biggest part about it is they're not just working in their yard. They're spending a whole lot of money working in their yard. As a matter of fact, they're spending $29.5 billion a year working in their yard. The overall spending picture is dominated by 2 product categories, lawn care and DIY landscaping. And when you combine those 2, they account for 48% of the overall DIY market. Well, that, along with the fact that our population is getting older and living longer, we're going to need more lawn and garden tools that are easier to use and better suited for the aging population. Well, we've designed one of those. The all-new patented Weed Zinger is light, easy to use, ergonomically friendly, and it also promotes natural and organic weeding. It's simple to use. You simple step, twist, and zing it right into the trash can. It was invented by a friend of mine who wanted to make weeding easier on him physically. And it really does, as you can see. But the most important part about it is not that the weeding was easier. It was the fact that when he went out and weeded in his yard, it was a fun magnet for his grandkids. So not only is the Weed Zinger unique in its function with the trigger release mechanism, it's also unique in that it can be fun in its use. The premise that weeding can actually be fun isn't found anywhere in the market. So after about a year of fine-tuning, we were ready to introduce the Weed Zinger to the market. So we did so this past May at the 2014 National Hardware Show in Las Vegas. The results were phenomenal. In the first 2 months after the show, we sold hundreds of Weed Zingers on our website and Amazon. We completed a sale of over 4,000 Weed Zingers to the largest hardware chain in Australia and New Zealand. We've received a commitment from QVC.
Did they reorder any?
It's just their start of their season.
Okay.
So it's just now going into their stores right now. So we've also received a commitment from QVC to purchase over 3,000 Weed Zingers for their lawn and garden segment. And we've been approached by several of America's large hardware chains who do their lawn and garden purchases in the fall. And we've done all of that in the off season. But the one thing we did find when we were at the hardware shows that people kept asking us over and over was, do you have any other products? Or what else do you have in your product line? And so we thought when we got back, well, we'd better do something about that. So we did. We created a new product called the Spray Pal, and we've been able to secure production for the Spray Pal, so it will be sold alongside the Weed Zinger this fall buying season. So Weed Zinger is not just a product, we're a company. We've got sales, we've got manufacturing overseas, we've got distribution. What we don't have right now is money. That's where we need you. It is right now the very beginning of the buying season for the 2015 retail season, and we need cash for operations. We need money for manufacturing and inventory, shipping and distribution, and advertising and promotion. We're asking for $150,000 in exchange for 15% equity in our company. So how about it, Sharks? Who wants to give it a zing?
So you're telling me I can buy that and trick the neighbor kids into doing my weeding because it's fun.
You know, it is. When I got this back from we've gotten them over some samples. When I got them over and over, my kids followed me outside, and they're like fighting over who wanted to weed. I mean, it was the best thing ever. So yeah, it is clever.
How does it get the roots? Because I thought that's what you have to do to take out a weed.
Well, I didn't think that they'd like me drilling into the floor, so we had this doctored up. But the actual one is right here. And this is the color. This is an exclusive color we made for QVC. And this is the one. So you just grabs the root like that. And there's a spring inside with kinetic force. And then it shoots it out.
What's your margin?
49%.
Nice.
Yeah, we started out with a manufacturer overseas who wasn't quite as reliable, and their prices were a little higher. And at the Canton trade show over in China, we found that there was another manufacturer who was willing to work with us, drop the price, better quality, and happier overall.
What's your plan to get into some of the big stores, the Home Depots, the Lowe's? Do you have relationships there that could get you right in there?
We have been working diligently over the last couple of months working to get sales reps for those big companies. And right now, we don't feel like we're quite ready for Lowe's and Home Depot, but we are ready for the next step under, because we want to make sure that when we sell the product that we can actually deliver the service.
Okay.
You know, a product like this, if you did show it, given that you're proving success with smaller players, if you did go to a Home Depot or a Lowe's and they were interested in it, that purchase order is very financeable.
Yes.
Because they are very good credits. And so that would also prove that it's going to become a national product.
Right.
I mean, this does solve a problem. It looks like it works, and you've got some proof of use. I mean, obviously, I'd love to know if the Australians are going to reorder it, or if they've just bought 1 year's worth of inventory. The sell-through is what matters, but it looks like it could work. I don't know why you haven't gone there and just said, look, this is what I've got, and give me an order for $4 million. I'll figure it out. I'll make it for you.
Have you had any conversations with any of the folks there?
My national sales rep has had conversations with some of the bigger players. We just have not had them come to fruition yet.
But you're the best salesperson for this.
So if I had a shark in my corner who had those contacts that we could just give them a call, then we'd be able to work on that together.
Yeah. But I mean, I look at it, it's sort of, why give a sales rep 15% when really it's a binary decision at Depot whether they're going to pick it up or not.
Right.
I've never seen anything like this. It probably has merit. I think you have a shot. But at this stage, you actually don't have to sell any equity. You can just get the order and finance the purchase orders. It'll cost you somewhere between 9 and 15%, but who cares?
Right.
I mean, ultimately what you want is this to be a huge thing that gets taken out by a large competitor.
Right.
Unless you want to build a business up product by product by product. I don't know how much energy you've got. But there's plenty of examples of people who invented one great thing, sold millions of it, and then got taken out at a multiple of sales, and they're fishing.
Right.
Your current manufacturer, are they do they have the capacity
Yeah,
to do, okay.
they can do 100,000 a month.
Oh, that's very interesting.
I would love to work with any of you guys.
Is your margin on your retail sales or your wholesale?
Wholesale.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we've worked really hard, and that's with them just believing in us. And I would imagine that once we had more and more orders, the margins are going to go even up,
Right.
even higher.
Yeah.
Because that's just with a base 1,000 order.
Who have you talked to about this besides us so far?
You guys are the first. We financed it, my husband and I, all ourselves so far.
Have you used any factoring on any receivables? Like the Australians, have they paid you yet?
Yeah, they use a company, actually, they work with a company that paid us within, I think, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, we used a company. It took a long time to try and get that in the works, but you know, it's just work, and we got the money a lot quicker, so it was worth it.
And you've got entrepreneurial experience, right? You're a
Absolutely.
business owner.
I
You have a
am.
track record of being a business owner.
I've been managing my own businesses for 15 years. I love it.
Who designed it? You or your husband?
Neither one of us. I was at a client's, and it was a friend of mine, and he was showing me a video of him using it with his grandkids, and I'm like,
And
why
so
aren't you doing
do you
anything?
own the patent for that?
I do.
Wow.
He is here today, so I cannot.
Yeah.
No, we have a great relationship, so he's actually helped me every step of the way. It's been great.
Well, I mean, you're actually a good candidate for factoring, for somebody to lend you money against purchase orders. That's what, and to me, that should be somebody locally here that works with you. I don't know. One of you guys should step up and charge her 15%.
ECDI.
Yeah. I mean, it's a wonderful idea, and
Thank you.
it's simple to understand, and you have orders. Those are the cocktails for success.
We've got a good working relationship with the Home Depot folks. If you're interested, we can go in together. If you get the order, we'd do the deal you're asking for, but you don't need it.
I mean, your past startup venture, you have a business, you need factoring. Why give up your equity? Why do that?
Because we just need money now.
No, I
because it's
get
the
it,
very
but-
beginning of the season, and we need to get the orders filled. That we need to get the orders and paid for so we can continue.
Ina can do
I
it.
think what-
Ina's not is not a shark, but she can do it. And definitely, if you're financing receivables, like that is completely in their sweet spot. If you don't want to abandon equity
I've
or
also
control.
got a bank that has said that they would be willing to lend me $150,000 should I need it. So
Ina.
I was
talk to
hoping
Ina.
for a partner that would help me just with the take it into the nationals faster than I would have normally been able to do it myself.
We'll follow up.
Well, look, anyways, thank you. Time's up, but that was very impressive. Thanks. Okay, next up is Lucas Dixon. He's got a digital solution that addresses a popular sports injury. I'd be guessing to say it would be concussions, but we'll find out. Okay, Lucas, hit us.
In the last 18 months, school districts have had to pay over $7 million in lawsuits to athletes that have suffered concussions. This is a new phenomenon, and it is because in the last 3 years, all 50 states have passed laws on how concussions need to be managed. And the easiest way to create liability is to not follow your own rules. And the Spotlight system is a software solution that helps school districts and athletic organizations follow these new compliance rules. It is a mobile application that tracks a concussion from the sideline to proper return to play, which is the process in which a concussion is evaluated and then the athlete is approved to return to the sport. So our system uses a mobile application and then a web app to track that concussion. And not only does it track the concussion, it also notifies all the parties in the responsibility chain. So as soon as a concussion happens, it notifies the coach, the athletic director, and the parents so that everybody stays in the loop and the process is completely transparent. So where we are at now, we have partnered with Nationwide Children's Hospital, which is the #1 child injury research institution in the world, and they submitted a grant with us to the NIH and the NFL, and we were funded for a study to study the Spotlight system over the next 2 years. So as of right now, we are deployed in about 30 schools and should be in about 100 schools over the next year, and to test and validate our findings. And we are seeking $200,000 tonight for 20% equity to help get to the next round. About $75,000 of that will go to development support and to leverage the study that we are in, and about $125,000 to go out and start selling.
So who downloads the app?
Depending on the rules, the athletic trainer, or depending on the state regulations, a coach could be that official assessor, but is the person that is responsible to take that player out of the game, and then generally the rule is that a doctor has to return that athlete back to play.
So a kid gets injured playing football.
Yep.
They're not sure whether he has a concussion, maybe he's exhibiting some symptoms or not. They pull him off the field. They use your app to take the different metrics and input it into the app. At that point,
yes. So now they are returned to play, or they're removed from play. Everybody is notified, and we use what's called the SCAT-2 test, which is a industry standard concussion assessment. And so we're not inventing a new concussion test. All we're doing is putting transparency and ensuring that there's a digital paper trail for the tracking of that concussion, so that there's, that will solve the liability problem for the athletic organization.
So you are actually doing the test inside the app, and so it's testing and notification?
That's correct.
Okay.
The SCAT-2 test is a subjective test that the athletic trainers are already doing right now. They're just notating it in the app now.
So is it a one-time thing? The trainer will put the information in the app, doc sees it, doc says yay or nay, and then they would re-examine them later to see if the numbers that are put in, the doc is saying, okay, it's not a concussion, he doesn't have to come see me, or does the doctor still need to get in front of that person?
Most of the rules, the state rules, are that once you have been removed from play, you have to go to the doctor to be readmitted, or the athletic trainer, in some states, is allowed to reassess. But there is reassessment, and you can reassess in the application as well.
How do the rules differ when you get into college and you get into the pros?
Right now, there are less defined state regulations for college and for the pros. The NCAA and the NFL govern a little bit differently. But the opportunity, because of just the sheer magnitude, is in the high schools. There's over 18,000 high schools.
Fruit.
Yeah, that's where we want to target, and those are the guys that will see this as an insurance policy.
There's 18,000 schools. So the revenue stream is selling to the schools.
Yeah, so to the schools directly, and what is also coming that is an advantage for us is that school districts are now hiring basically medical practices to subcontract out their athletic trainers. So instead of hiring an athletic trainer on their payroll, they'll hire Ohio Health athletic training practice. So because of that, we can sell to the Ohio Healths of the world and reduce our cost of sales.
So if you're selling to schools, who's your decision maker? And just with all of the hoops that have, what's the sales cycle?
Athletic directors would be the decision maker. The cost per school is about $1,800 per year. It's a software as a service model, and $1,800 is below the threshold that they would have to go to a board approval or
Can they
otherwise.
install it on multiple platforms? I mean, the license is $1,800. Everybody can have the app.
That's correct. Yes.
So it's for any sport in the high school. Could be basketball, could be football.
That's correct. Yeah. So we would say that there are 4 or 5 main sports, but we would say if a school's buying it, they would cover all their athletes. About 370 athletes are in an average high school, and our revenue model is $3 per athlete per year, and then we have a $750. Basically,
The premise of the business is it's an electronic record-keeping system that reduces litigation. Is that really what you're saying?
Exactly right.
With school funding being what it is, levies not passing, are you segmenting those, let's say it's 1,800 schools, by, okay, these budgets are passing, these schools are in areas where there's, we know there's a surplus of funding. Are you going and getting that microscopic on how you segment in terms of here's the market we want to attract first, so on and so forth?
Absolutely, and in my past experience, I've sold to schools, and I'm familiar. That information is publicly available. It's very easy to search and see, even just where the finances of schools stand.
Is there liability to you if either the kid or the trainer lies on the app? Like how much risk of that passes to your platform?
Yeah, we have a disclaimer and as much as we can to get rid of that risk. And by using a already adopted test, the SCAT-2 concussion test, we have reduced our liability there. We're not saying that we can prevent every athletic trainer or the assessor from lying on how they note it. But at that point, that school district can point back and transfer that liability back to that athletic trainer. This is really about removing the liability of the organization. If an individual still screws up, we can't prevent every
The AD's
that.
the fall guys, in other words.
That's right.
Is there any risk they won't use it because they don't want to take a chance that they're recording it incorrectly?
Well, so we've met and worked with a lot of athletic trainers, and it is not, everybody knows they don't like change to begin with. So there is some resistance from that part. We've made it very simple and mimic the existing tests that they have done to make it a really simple transition. But what is interesting about what has happened is that individuals have actually been sued. So it's traditionally been really hard to sue a school and win because there's accepted liability that you play sports, there's a chance of injury. But now because there is a new rule and they've shown that the school district or the individual is not following those rules, both districts have been sued and had been awarded, but also individuals. So like an athletic trainer was actually sued personally and an award was granted. So
okay, only 30 seconds. Why don't you tell us in the next 2 years how many schools you think you can sell out of the 18,000?
3,800 is our growth rate, and that's with an 80% retention rate.
In the next 2 years?
Oh, that's 4 years.
4 years. Okay,
2
so
years.
What'll revenue be over the next 4 years? Just give us the ramp rate.
7.8.
7.8 million?
Yes.
That'll be the total sales over 4 years?
Yes.
Cumulative.
No, that would be the year four. Yeah.
That would be the recurring revenue in year 4?
Yes. That with 3,800 school districts. Yeah, about $38 million market cap.
And you have zero right now, right?
We have zero.
That's the leap of faith.
You got it.
Nobody else is doing anything remotely. There's no solution, pretty much.
The two competitive fronts that we've identified, there are other software companies that track injuries. So there's people that sell a software solution to track just knee sprains and everything like that. And then there are several applications that just provide information about concussions. So you can download an app and learn about concussions. And the SCAT-2, they have an application that does things like that. But nobody is attacking it from the liability of the schools and relieving that liability.
Okay. Any bites? It's a binary. You're either going to make a lot of money or you're going to zero.
You got it.
I think one of the limitations really is the market opportunity. So if you had 100% of schools in the United States, it seems to be kind of a $40 to $50 million scale,
yep.
Which is a phenomenal business to do. But
the concussion space is certainly a buzz area that,
yes,
especially kids in high schools, they're focusing heavily
Yeah.
on trying to improve those rates and try to keep kids healthier on the field.
If he got high schools, he'd go to colleges next.
Without a
Why
doubt.
not?
Where they've got money
Yeah.
in these kids on top of it.
And we can follow them up through college.
Right.
That's the idea. Then you can take it all the way up to the top, and you can actually track their liability.
Well, presumably they stopped getting concussions. They stopped.
Let's hope not. They just get worse.
I mean, you would hope that would be the case, right? And the idea is to prevent repeat concussions within a certain period of time. That's the goal, and that's what the mandated state legislation is. And so that being able to track it all the way up through would be an important thing.
It should work for every sport, including hockey, where there's a lot of concern about recurring.
Yes, they're extremely high.
Yeah, it's intriguing. I have to admit, it's a little. it's a little pre-revenue-ish. It's too bad you didn't have at least a test site that was actually using it.
Yeah, well, we have 34 schools that are currently using it. We'll know more by the end of this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's keep tabs.
Yeah,
on
you're
this.
in the come back in 6 months category, and see what happens. That's for me,
we'll
anyways.
We'll take you up on that.
Yeah. Very intriguing. Thank you. You're definitely in the right space.
Nice job, guys.
That's it. Those were our 5 entrepreneurs.
That was really good.
Any closing thoughts from the panel before we wrap up for the evening?
What did you guys think?
Yeah, I think everybody did a great job representing yourselves and your product, so congratulations. I think all of them are investable ideas, and the problem that I'm having here is that it's just an idea, and that next stage is just so crucial. As soon as you come back, I'm going to follow up the weed Zinger thing because they have customers, and as soon as you come back and say, I've got real customers, those 30 people that I'm in test right now in the concussion technology actually all say I'll pay $1,800 for this, and we've proven an ability. All of them are investable. They'd all be interesting. I'll go on record right now. Anything he decides to invest in, if you need a local person to kind of watch him, we'll partner with you.
Hey, Rich, let's syndicate that.
You'll help.
Let's syndicate that.
So, I was just going through for everybody in the audience to remind everybody, because when you see a lot of deals in a row, as I've used to, you often forget what you saw. So we saw M. Christian Armstrong, software changing long-term health care outcomes. You remember that one? Giving the platform free to the facility and then charging the doctors and healthcare providers. Then we saw from Daniel Towns a product that revolutionizes automobile travel. It was very simple to understand. You stick a screwdriver in a tire and it doesn't go flat. Everybody got that. It's either real good or, I saw it, so it looks real. That's, it's a very intriguing situation he's got there. Number 3 was Todd Whittington. It was a technology solving a common healthcare problem. That was interesting as well. And then we also saw a tool, as we just spoke of, a tool that adds a new twist to gardening. That was very simple to understand and probably the most advanced of all the presentations in the sense that she had sales. And that's magic. Getting sales is magic, so very interesting. And finally, concussion. Litigation reduction in concussion is a business. I think that's a business, just it's a little early. So would you guys like to take a shot in ranking just to say what you thought of those 5 in terms of which you think would get funded? Because we've got to be real here.
Well, just in terms of number 1, if you look at just the sheer risk of it, you guys have sales. There's proof there.
So which one are you talking about?
Weed Zinger.
Weed Zinger.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I can definitely support Weed Zinger as a very interesting.
At the same time, I don't know that we really ever got the chance to deduce 2, 5, 10 years from now what revenue expectations could be from many of these guys in terms of quantifying the sheer massive scale beyond just the next 12 months and what can put cash in our pocket in 6 months, 12 months. I don't know that we ever really got a chance to get a strong feel for that. But that impacts things, obviously.
Yeah, I agree with Luke that it's kind of been a capital to get things off the ground, and then we'll know more. And so it's about actualizing ideas versus growth capital, so that gets a little tricky.
The art on the remedial, or at least on recovery training, was very interesting too.
Absolutely.
Okay, that was well worth doing, and supporting entrepreneurs anytime is a good thing, so I applaud everybody. And I'd like to speak again back to the sponsors, because without them, this wouldn't have happened. IT Martini, Park Bench Digital, Franklin Park Conservatory, Mad Greek, sounds like a great restaurant, Car2Go, Refectory, Columbus Chamber of Commerce, Fahrenheit, IT Staffing Consulting, and Life Technologies. Absolutely terrific. Thank you, Troy Miller and Columbus City Council and the ECDI, very important. This is really helping build business, and that's what matters. Thank you very much for coming out tonight. Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause for Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary. Thank you. And thank you to our Sharks, Luke Westerman, Rich Langdale, Tanisha Robinson, and our entrepreneurs as well. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. We've got a ton of food. We've got plenty of drinks. Still got an hour or two here of tent rental. Let's have some fun.